Hi guys, so today I'm going to show you the butter maker that I got that came with my cream separator. They all came with the same price. And this is it. It just fits onto the same motor that the separator does. It has terrible parts though. It's very difficult to put together because there's no instructions. And if there are instructions, they're in Slovakian or Scandinavian or something. I don't know what they are. They're terrible. So there's no way to know how to put it together until you sit there for 5 hours and try to put it together. So I'm going to show you guys how it puts together. Okay? So it has the same base. This is a piece unto itself, and this is a piece unto itself, just like the cream separator. Okay? So those pieces are the same. On the inside, you have this little circular thing, and this is what makes the agitation. Underneath that, I'm not going to take this apart because, yeah, I'll never get it put back together. Let's see if I can. There's a little gear right here, and that gear coincides to gears underneath this wheel. And then there's an arm underneath this that it rotates on. And then this is the key that goes between this and the latch, the gear on the separator hub. So this fits on like this, and then this here is what fits onto this. Get the fly swatter, please. Where are you supposed to be doing your work? You have to put enough cream into it in order for it to be above the level of the rotators. And while I have used this a couple times, I haven't used it more than a couple times because it took so much longer than my blender. So I may be crying after this because if I use this and my cream warms up, I have to put my cream back in the fridge and let it cool down again in order to be able to make it into butter in the blender, because if you have warm cream, it ain't gonna separate. It's gonna melt. Yeah. So if this works, it'll be super exciting because I could do all my butter at once. When I generally do my butter, I do it with less than a quart at a time, because it overheats your blender, and then of course the blender starts to cook your cream. So you can see I've got almost a gallon of cream here. If I include what came from today, I've got a gallon. So you have to put the lid on because the suction of the lid onto the bowl is what helps to agitate it. If it doesn't have that suction, you just don't have the same agitation. Apparently, I've got to go to the bathroom really bad because I keep spilling things because I just need to go pee. Alright, so here is my butter. So from 3 quarts of cream, I'm going to get this much butter. So that may sound, 3 quarts of cream may sound like a lot of cream, but I'm getting 1 quart of cream per gallon. I'm only milking 2 goats right now, and I get 3/4 of a gallon of milk from them a day, and out of that I get 3/4 of a quart of cream. And so that's per day, which means that I can get just shy of this much cream twice a week. So you see how much better that is. If I get that much twice a week. And so how much butter do you guys go through? We supplement our butter with lard and duck fat and tallow if I'm feeling like it. Tallow's good for French fries, but I don't like to use it on anything else because it has a tendency to kind of smell like hamburgers. And I don't know. I don't really like that flavor in general cooking. Whereas the lard turns out really nice and flavorless and doesn't smell like anything. So this is how you get all the water. So you saw, I think I did 3 rinses is how many I did. You want to make sure that your bowl stays cold. And because my bowl's not real cold, my butter is trying to stick to the bowl. So if you have that problem, like if you're working in a really warm kitchen, you're going to want to have a bowl of ice water to put underneath it. And then I add just a pinch of salt. It helps to retard bacteria. And it tastes kind of nice. Just make sure you don't overdo it, because this last batch that I did, I overdid it just a bit. And the salt was kind of obvious. And the way that I like to store it is I like to store it just in a little half-pint jar in the fridge. And when you bring it out to put it on toast, pretty much just make sure that your toast is really hot and try to get thin flakes off of your butter, because it's a very fresh food and it doesn't have any preservatives or anything in it, and it's going to have more water in it than store-bought. So you don't really want to be having it out of the fridge to thaw and then putting it back in the fridge. And if you leave it out of the fridge, it will start to go rancid, and that's not a real pleasant aroma or flavor. It doesn't go bad, like it won't hurt you, but it just smells ripe. So I like to leave it in the fridge at all times and then just bring out a little bit for when we're putting it on something. And this is trying to warm up on me, so I'm trying to hurry. I think I've got as much out of it as I'm going to get. So that's how much butter it was. It's actually a lot of butter. And you'll find that you go through it a lot slower than you do store-bought butter. I don't know why. I have absolutely no idea, but that's the case. Generally we can go through 1.5 pounds of butter in a week. But when we switch over to lard and to homemade butter, we go through about 1/2 cube a week of butter. And maybe 1/4 cup of lard. We don't use very much. I've been trying to use the oil from cooking things like sausage in whatever the rest of the dish is. And so we're not using a lot of fat right now, outside of just what's in whatever I'm cooking. So this is a lot of butter for our family right now. The girls and I don't even really eat butter. We used to, but where we're trying to be more careful about the celiac, and we've just kind of pretty much cut bread out of our diet. We just haven't used it. So this butter is like a present to Mr. Dirt, because he does eat butter. And he thinks it's pretty good. So this is probably way too much butter for our family in a week. But I still separate it out because it's nice to know that I have it, and it's nice to be kind of in that mindset of make sure that if you can make it on the farm, make sure to take advantage of that. And we definitely can make butter. So I think that's the best butter I've ever made. It has just a little bit of salt. And so that's 2 weeks of butter. Well, about 1 week of butter because it was from 2 days last week and then all this week. So a week and a half. And I still swear by my blender. This would work. What happened was that this piece flipped up and came off just as it was starting to turn. And so the problem with this is that you need to make sure that you're not trying to spin it too fast. If you try to spin it too fast, this piece flips up and then you don't have your crank anymore. But it works. If I had only put in 2 quarts of cream, it would have worked better. The problem was that it started to whip, and it was whipped cream at that point. And once it turned to whipped cream, it started to inflate and it started to push the lid off the bowl, and it needed to be pressurized. So I'll try that again sometime and see how it goes. It's definitely hard work. It's a lot harder than just separating out the cream. And I made a mess out of my kitchen, and now I'm going to use the buttermilk, and I'm going to culture it because that way I can save the milk that isn't buttermilk, that's just skim milk, for Mr. Dirt to drink. Okay.
Can I get a drink?